Hi, I'm Brazilian bass baritone Rafael Porto,
And I'm Puerto Rican tenor Rafael Davila.
which obviously means that we're coming to you live from Hibbing, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah. Roll that intro. So today on Operatunity, we have our first guest, and we are partnering with Florida Grand Opera with their Sitdown Saturdays Series, and we have world-famous tenor Rafael Davila with us today. He has sung all over the world, from houses at the Met, Europe, everywhere in between, and we are so happy to have a Tale of Two Rafaels today. Rafael, anything I missed?
No, I think.
Oh, and handsome, very important.
Well, thank you for
No,
that.
absolutely.
As Rafaels usually are.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I thought we would kind of address the most obvious question. Tell us how it feels to be performing. For some of you that may not know, Rafael and I are both at the Northern Lights Festival right now, doing a production of Tosca. I'm the sacristan, and Cavaradossi. And to our knowledge, this is the first production that is happening in the country after the lockdown. So tell us how it kind of feels to be in this situation.
We were doing Opera La Vallee by Catalani, and then right in the middle of the performance, we had to stop because of the pandemic. And after that, all the other contracts for the rest of the year were canceled. I was supposed to do Tosca in Colorado, sing with the Santa Fe Symphony, do a Caballeria Rusticana in Puerto Rico, be at the Met for the Aida and the Carmen this year, next season, and all of that been canceled. So first of all, we feel really fortunate and happy to be able to be performing again, to be on the stage, while also taking all the safety precautions to make sure that we're safe, that the musicians are safe, as well as the audience that will be present in the theater.
And how many Cavaradossis have you done?
This is like my 12th productions.
Absolutely.
So I probably more than 60 performances in total.
And with more than 60 performances, do you think that there's still something extra special about this experience in particular?
Definitely. When you work with different artists, then even if it's the same role, the same music, you find different things, especially with the relationship to this particular other performer. And also talking with the stage director, who's Chia Patiño, and she's an amazing director from Ecuador, whom I met earlier this year in Texas. And she brought so many new things that I didn't realize about a role or a character that I thought I knew.
Absolutely, that's amazing.
It's very interesting that you keep learning. And then also, while you perform a role during the years, then the role grows with you, so it becomes wiser.
Absolutely.
Somehow.
Oh, that's very special. So we are in Hibbing, Minnesota. That's a little bit out of the ways, almost in Canada, a little rural.
We're closer to Canada than Minneapolis.
For sure. How does a boy in Puerto Rico, get to Hibbing, Minnesota? How did you first get interested in opera? I remember we were having breakfast earlier, and you were talking that you were actually getting a doctorate in optometry. So that is quite a career change. So
I was already working on my doctoral degree, and already practicing with patients, and then I was called to sing in the opera chorus. That was my first experience. I had sung in choir most of my life, from church choir to university choirs, and that's how I was called in to sing in this opera. It was a Rigoletto, so they needed a completely male chorus, so they brought people with choral experience. And I remember Pablo Elvira, the great baritone, beautiful voice from Puerto Rico, was singing the Rigoletto, so that was my first experience. Then later that season, we also did La Gioconda, and we did Otello with Plácido Domingo.
Wow.
And Justino Díaz right after they made the famous Sefirelli production.
Yeah.
The movie. So, it was a good start. And
absolutely. Plácido Domingo and Justino Díaz as a start, I don't think we can get much better.
I was in the hallway, and then Plácido came to me, bravo, Coro, you sound great. I was like, oh my God, Plácido,
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I had the opportunity to work with Plácido over the years. He's very, very supportive also. He gave me the opportunity to sing my first Manon Lescaut with him in Valencia, in Spain. And then I was able to do my debut in Liceo de Barcelona singing that role, as well as in San Francisco Opera last year.
So me speaking from my own experience of being a young artist at like Glimmerglass Festival and finishing up my time at Florida Grand Opera, I can't imagine a better way to like start, the career. And so at Florida Grand Opera we have our studio artists, and many other companies around the country are having these young artist programs. We're fostering, the next generation of tomorrow's opera stars. Can you talk a little bit about, your experience in a young artist program and just what you think the value of having those types of safe places for young singers is?
Yes, I started my music training in Puerto Rico at the Music Conservatory, and then I went to Texas, Austin, Texas. I got a scholarship to do my master's degree there. And then once I finished my master's, I got into the young artist program for Austin Lyric Opera. It's now called, I think, Austin Opera. And I was there for 2 years, and that gave me the experience of being on my feet, performing every day. Sometimes when you are at university, it's so academic that you spend most of the time in the library analyzing music and, learning music. But to be able to be singing, working with stage director, having like drama classes, work with theater director, and also being able to be on stage as a comprimario or covering a leading role, with these great artists that have sang, all over the world.
You, sing some of the big boys, in the tenor leads in Tosca, Carmen, Fanciullo del West, Aida, Forza, you name it. And you have, for many years. Have you always kind of sung these more beefy, tenor roles, or was there kind of like a development, kind of transition that happened over your years of singing?
No, it did. I mean, I started singing all the bel canto. I sang all the Mozart roles. I sang, Don Giovanni. I sang Barber of Seville. I sang Cenerentola.
Wow.
So I think that helped me, to even at this stage in my life be able to still be singing high notes, and especially Mozart. You work with Mozart the passaggio so well that then later in the career you really appreciate having gone through that process, as well as with the bel canto. Then you sing. You can sing this bigger repertoire, but still sing it lyrically and beautiful. Sometimes people don't go through that process, and then they have trouble down the road later. So I was lucky to be able to do that. But even from the beginning, I was telling you also that Pablo Elvira helped me when I did the auditions in Puerto Rico, and he coached me. And maybe he heard something in the voice, but he told me, you should go to Indiana and work with James Keane, who was an amazing, big dramatic. So I think he was already hearing something in the voice, but it wasn't until the past 15 years that I really started working on the spinto. I think it's more like lirico spinto, because I can sing the lyric lines, but also with some color and some weight in the voice. So I feel very comfortable singing that repertoire, but it's been only for the past 15 years that the voice has matured, and it has acquired more color and more volume.
Absolutely. And in those years, and like, you've been fortunate to study with a lot of great people, but like obviously you're not meeting them as often. Are there a couple of principles that you can just kind of have in your mind that you always just kind of use to check yourself, a little bit, like, just to make sure everything's going the way that you want?
I mean, I was fortunate that I worked with William Lewis during my master's degree. He was a great Hilton tenor who's still teaching in Austin, and he sang for many years at the Metropolitan Opera. And then I've been working with my teacher in New York for the past 20 years, William Schumann, who's great, especially with tenors. And every time I'm in New York, I say I go for my tune-up. So
Absolutely.
And even if it's a role that I'm learning or I have to review a role, I always go with him. And in one lesson, we just go through the whole role, and then try to. And I record. The good thing is that nowadays we record everything. And there are many things that we can, during the lesson, we can probably not be aware of. And then when we hear it again, so, that I forgot, I didn't listen to this, or now I see, what he meant.
Absolutely.
And I always carry that with me, and every time I review my roles, and you have to, because you will never be able to listen to your voice, not even on a recording. It doesn't sound the same as live, so you have to have some ears that you trust.
You've been basically a huge local favorite at Florida Grand Opera. Beloved, we've had you in the Tosca 13-14 season, and
Carmen.
yeah, it's Carmen and
Ballo.
and Ballo in the 16-17
Yes.
season. Are there any kind of fun memories that you have while working at your time at FGO, and what does Florida Grand Opera kind
Yeah.
of mean to you a
Oh,
little bit?
I love Florida Grand Prix. I love Miami, and I knew Susan Danis from Sarasota. So I was fortunate that my first show there was Tosca, a show that I've done with the same cast in Sarasota first, and I think we even brought the same costume, the same sets. Um, but I love Miami, and for me as a Latino, it's nice to go to a city that you can go out and you can have fun and have good dinner. I remember we used to take the cast, to a particular, Latino place, and
Yeah.
And they were all Americans, and they didn't know about this food, and they were like so surprised. Oh my God, I love this food! And I went back for the Carmen when I met new friends that I call now. For the opening of the season, and I remember at the end, after I had done my debut at the Met, the tenor from the Ballo withdrew, and they told me, they asked me if I could do it, and I've sang Ballo like 7 or 10 years earlier, so I had to review it like in 1 month and come down to do it. But it was a great production. I just was able to watch part of it with Tamara Wilson and my dear friend Todd Thomas, and so I think that was a great production. So I'm looking forward. I hope that I can come back soon.
Absolutely.
I really miss Florida Grand Opera, and I miss Miami.
Yeah, yeah. You've been, having a great career and have sung leading roles at houses all over the world. But you've also have done a lot of covering, in your life, and I think you've been on the Met roster the past 3 seasons, and it seems that covering can be a real major part of being in a studio artist program or young artist program, or afterwards, and you're kind of starting the career. Can you talk a little bit about your ideas on covering, any fun stories that you had with that, or just the importance of what that process was to you, and if you have any tips for young singers that are maybe doing their first cover assignments.
I think it's very important. I did my first covers when I was a young artist, and something I learned also by being a young artist and being in these productions is to be prepared. Because sometimes I saw a couple of leading singers that came and they were not prepared, and I know how that looked. And then I said, like, well, you have to be prepared, and especially if you're covering, because sometimes you don't know when you have to go on, and you really have to be prepared. And this is a good opportunity for you, first to learn a role if you haven't learned it before, and also to learn by watching somebody else do it. And it happens, it happened to me at the Met, and that gave me the opportunity. I was also doing, I wasn't covering, but I was singing some performances in Italy of Pagliacci, I remember, and I remember they fired the tenor at the last minute, and for the last dress rehearsal, I had to go on for the last scene, and I was lucky that I did well enough that then they gave me all the performances. But who knows? Maybe if they didn't like it, they would have also fired me.
Yeah.
So it's very important. I remember somebody told me a story of somebody who was covering at the Met opening night of this big famous singer, and he didn't even warm up. And the singer was having some trouble, and then another colleague of him told him, "You better prepare because I think you're going to go on." So, "Are you kidding? This is opening night. He won't." And he had to. The person who went on didn't have the name of this big star, and he cracked all the high notes as the other person was doing, and then you didn't hear from him again. So it's very important to be prepared and take when I'm covering, I prepare just as if I was going to perform. I have my good night's sleep the night before. I take my tea. I have my nap. I have a good dinner. Come early to the theater, warm up, and just be ready in case. Because sometimes we have to go also in the middle of the performance. Sometimes what I do usually in the theater, if it's possible, it's to go into one of the rooms and then sing through the opera, listen through the speakers and sing through the opera as the performance is going on. So if you have to come in the second or the third act, you already warm up as if you have sang the whole opera. So that's something important that I learned also from another colleague.
No, that's fantastic. What was some of the closest calls, time-wise that you remember kind of having, short notice?
Well, for my debut, it was like an hour and a half before, and they told me he's not feeling well, so you better be prepared. So I came to the theater. They had me in another room while he was in his dressing room, deciding if he was going on or not. And like 45 minutes before the performance, they called me into the dressing room to get ready. It happened also that the mezzo was a last-minute call for opening night also. So I was lucky that the tenor was sick during the previous week, so I was able to get some time on stage. But the mezzo singing the Carmen at the Met opening night, she'd never been on stage. So we had to work with her on stage for the first time half an hour before the performance.
That's amazing.
So, you have to be very smart, very quick, and be ready.
Absolutely.
Because you never know when it's going to happen and how it's going to happen.
Yeah. Let's end with something, kind of fun and more on the personal side. You travel the world, like on average, how many months do you think you're, kind of traveling?
Yeah, almost the whole year.
Exactly.
The past years, I'm here. I'm in Puerto Rico for a couple of months in the summer and maybe 1 month during the holidays.
Absolutely. So with all that traveling and, just kind of almost feeling like a nomad, how are there any kind of, rituals that you do or something that, you bring from home everywhere? Just, how do you make yourself feel at home when you're not at home and perhaps you're not with your family or anything like that?
Well, something that I really enjoy about my career, apart from making music that we love and making new friends, is to visit different places. So whenever I'm in a place, all my time off is exploring the city, exploring the area, exploring the country. And my family does too. So even from the beginning, when I wasn't making that much money, I made sure to bring my family, because my wife used to be a teacher at my daughter's school. So they will have the same break. So during the summer or holidays or the Easter or Thanksgiving week, whatever I was, they would be coming with me. And we had the experience of, travel the world together. And then for the past 3-4 years, my wife then quit her job because I was traveling so much and being in beautiful places by yourself. You don't enjoy life like that. So you said, no, I cannot go on like this. And then my daughter had gone into college, so we were able then to travel most of the time together for the past years. And I think that's very important. I remember at the beginning when I started working, I did my debut in New Zealand in 2004 with my first Don Jose in Carmen. Mm-hmm. And then I did my debut in Italy, in Ballo in Maschera, in Napoli. And I remember those times when there was no internet, Skype, that, all the money that I spent, with pay phones and, pay cards to call home, because I had to call every day to make sure everything was fine. Yeah. And we talked for hours. So I spent thousands of dollars doing that. Nowadays it's so easy because then you have the internet, WhatsApp, and it's not the same, talking to somebody that's seeing them, and that makes you also more relaxed and more comfortable, that they're safe. So I think that all the technology has also made a difference in our careers also and in our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking some time.
Thank you for the invitation
to talk with us, and congratulations on being Artist of the Week with
Operawire.
Yeah,
that was a surprise we had yesterday. I don't know where that came from, but I'm enjoying it. And I hope that opens also new doors.
No, absolutely. So thank you for joining us on Operatunity. If this is your first time on the channel, we'll have some past videos included in the link below, and please do subscribe. I'm Rafael Porto.
Rafael Davila.
And this is Operatunity. Thank you.